Starting in 1, 2, 3. Hi everyone and welcome to week 7 of Lucid Dreaming 101. I'm your instructor Crashu, and this week we're going to be covering some other techniques to get lucid that we haven't touched on yet. Mild, wild, wake back to bed, those are the big three. Dream X initiated lucid dream. Dialed, I don't really know how to say that, D-E-I-L-D. That is also another big one that I didn't touch on. This one is essential for being able to chain your lucid dreams together. So when you accidentally wake up from a lucid dream or something, you can go back into a lucid dream again, and that's called chaining. You keep waking up, but then you keep going back into your dream. It's a pretty simple technique to do. Basically, when you awake from your lucid dream, just like when you're doing your dream recall, you don't move, you just stay still. And then the second step, you concentrate on the dream you just awoke from, and you just keep thinking back, running it over in your mind, and waiting to enter the dream. You do this right, and you should be back in the dream before you know it, and then you just do a reality check to confirm, and then you go back to enjoying your lucid dream, and then just rinse and reply, or rinse and apply. I don't know how the saying goes. Just keep doing that each time you wake up from the lucid dream, and you should be able to chain multiple lucid dreams together and go back into the dreams. I'm not that experienced with this technique. It's not my best skill, but I have done it before, and it's a way a lot of people are able to maintain really long lucid dreams because they wake up, but then they're able to go immediately right back into the dream. That's really helpful. Uh, I'll have links to all these techniques so you can explore more detailed on them. Some of them I'm more experienced with than others. Filed finger-induced lucid dream. This one's worked really well for a lot of people. I would really suggest you guys should probably try this one. It's easier than wild for most, and it's going to work kind of similar to that. So, best use, in my opinion, for filed is basically you do what you do with the previous technique. When you wake up from a dream, or just when you wake up in the middle of the night, it doesn't have to be directly from a dream. You're going to lay still, not do much. Then the second step is you take your index finger and your middle finger and you move them up and down, one after the other, not at the same time, for about a minute. Don't like strain your hand doing that. Just do it very lightly, but move your fingers up and down, up and down, up and down. Just concentrate on moving your two fingers up and down. Uh, Only do it for about a minute, and once you do it, do a reality check. I don't care whether you think you're awake or whether you're asleep. You do a reality check. A lot of people will find, without them even realizing it, they had already entered the dream. They just, boom, they're in a lucid dream now because they did the reality check. Sometimes it doesn't work, and if it doesn't work, then just go back to sleep. It's not going to really, this isn't going to take a lot of time out of your nighttime schedule or anything. It's an easy enough technique to do every time basically you awaken. If it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's not too big of a deal. And then now this technique, SILed, Senses Initiated Lucid Dream, is I think what it's, yeah, that's what it stands for. SILed is one of the, you'll also sometimes see it as SILD instead of SSILD. SILD is probably one of the most effective techniques that I've tried, besides mild and wild. SILD's gotten me quite a few lucid dreams before. It's just whether I remember to use it. And even not for lucid dreaming, it can help you just to fall asleep. So for people like me who have a hard time falling asleep, SILD is a godsend. So first thing you need to know about SILD is there's the cycle. And the cycle consists of doing three things while you're laying in bed. First off, you close your eyes and you stare at the darkness behind them. Uh, you know, at first you're probably just going to see black, but then eventually, you might see colors or other stuff. But don't try to follow anything that you see. Try to mostly keep your eyes still. Don't like strain to keep your eyes still, but don't be moving your eyes around or anything. Just kind of keep your eyes relaxed and still, and just focus on whatever you see behind your eyelids. And then when that part of the cycle is finished, you move to your ears and you concentrate on what you can hear. Anything that you can hear, outside noises, your own heartbeat, anything you can kind of hear, that's what you focus on. You just focus on that. That's it. Then when you're done with that part of the cycle, you move to your body and you try to feel any unusual sensations, uh, anything that you can feel. Maybe you can feel the hair standing up on your back. I don't know. But like the warmth of the covers, the weight of the covers, anything that you can basically, any kind of tactile sensation. That's what you're going to focus on. And then once you know the cycle, what you do is you perform kind of like a tiny wake back to bed. You wake up in the middle of the night. You do things for a couple minutes, maybe use the bathroom or get a drink of water, and then you go back to sleep. You don't do a full wake back to bed for this, only a few minutes. Personally, when I've used it without doing any wake back to bed. So basically, I do what I was just telling you to do for DreamX initiated lucid dreams or filed, and that was to basically lay still. With siled, you can move a little bit. You don't need to lay as still because it's not going to affect the technique as much. But once you start doing the technique, you should be trying to lay still though. So then once you've done the wake back to bed, or once you just decide to do siled in the middle of the night, you're going to perform the cycle that we just talked about 4 to 6 times, spending a few seconds on each step of the cycle. So it's kind of like you're going through the cycle really fast, really rapidly. Um, Then you go on to performing the cycle again after that 3 to 4 times, but this time you want to spend at least 30 seconds on each part of the cycle. So it's going to be 30 seconds concentrating on your eyes, 30 seconds concentrating on your hearing, 30 seconds concentrating on your tactile senses. Then that's going to repeat again for another 2 to 3 times. By the time you get to these slow cycles, you'll probably find that that sometimes you'll get distracted, or you might start drifting off to sleep or something. When you come back to consciousness, you don't worry about what happened. You just go right back to wherever you can remember. Don't strain yourself to remember what you were last doing. Just keep going with it, kind of. And then basically after that, you fall asleep. Silent has a couple different things that can happen. You may not need to just fall asleep. Silent can sometimes induce basically what wild does, which is the hypnagogic hallucinations, and from there you kind of basically enter the lucid dream through more of a wild method. It can result in a false awakening to where you think you're still doing silent. In reality, you're actually in a dream. Then you kind of wake up because silent didn't work, and so you think, dang, it didn't work. Then you go back to sleep. The reality was you were already in a dream. That's why it's always important to reality check when you wake up and actually start moving. So it can lead to false awakenings, but if you know to reality check after a false awakening, you can actually take advantage of that and still get lucid. And then it can also work kind of like dialed. So basically, it's going to work like your reality checks, and it can just increase the likelihood of you remembering later in the night in one of your dreams to reality check, or that you're actually lucid, and it will increase the chances of you just getting lucid in general in the middle of the night. That's why silent, unlike wild, can actually be performed before you go to bed. It's not going to lead to the wild side or the false awakening side of things, but it can still be an effective technique to increase your success with dialed and reality checks and just in getting lucid dreams in general. And you could do it before bed, and then you could also do it during the middle of the night too if you feel like doing that. It's brilliant for both. If you combine it like that, then you're increasing your chances of getting lucid in the middle of the night. Plus, you're giving yourself an opportunity to kind of do like a wild variation of wild, basically in the middle of the night. And there's always the possibility when you do it too that nothing happens, and that happens sometimes. And then if that's the case, don't stress about it. You probably should make sure you do a reality check before you choose to fall asleep. But if nothing happens after you perform silent, you don't worry about it, you fall asleep. Like I said, the dialed aspect of it's going to increase your chances of getting lucid and remembering to become lucid later in the night anyways. So just falling asleep, the technique didn't fail. It's just working kind of in a different way. Uh, you'll find when you do silent, or at least I find when I do silent, it helps you to fall asleep faster too. So it can be beneficial just if you have a hard time falling asleep to try out silent and see if it helps you kind of just fall asleep faster. There's another technique called character assisted lucid dreaming. I don't really know anything about this one. I've never really tried it, but I have read about it. So I'm just going to cover it real quick here, but I'll have a link to it if you guys want to read more on it. Basically, you're going to create a fictional character kind of in your mind, like a writer might create a fictional character for a story. And part of creating this character is you have to be very detailed about what you want them to look like and act like and be like. Maybe not at first, but that's part of this technique. Then you start communicating with the character, kind of, like fake conversations, like a writer might do as an exercise to develop a character. You kind of have like fake conversations with your character, but you start to try to get to know your character. You almost kind of act, it's like basically you're role playing that there's this character that you created around you all the time and you talking with it. This technique sounds crazier than what it is. If you read the article on it, I think you'll understand it better. But nonetheless, this technique may not be for everybody either. So, um, but if it is, it might help you a lot. And then basically, because you've really spent the time developing this character, trying to make it real, eventually that character can help you either in wild to kind of keep you rooted in the fact that you want to become lucid and not just drift off to sleep, or they can come in your dreams and be like, when you see them, they're kind of like a dream sign that automatically tells your brain, oh, I'm dreaming, now I want to be lucid. And then we're going to come to here, externally induced lucid dreams. And this is basically when you use like your cell phone or the ReMe or the Nova Dreamer, which is the thing that LaBerge invented for lucid dreaming. Um, but it's not just visual cues like those two. Like I said, cell phones, you can have audio cues or something. That's externally induced lucid dreaming. Uh, and like it says at the end of the slide here, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate from reviews on this one. I don't really have much to tell you about how to do externally induced lucid dreaming. It depends on the device. In general, I don't think it's that effective. Uh, the ReMe device gets a lot of hate because people don't get lucid from it, but they don't understand how it works. ReMe is a sleep mask that has lights in it that go off in the middle of the night on a preset timer. And the lights are enough to penetrate your eyelids and get to your eyes, which the lights show up somehow in your dream. They could show up as police sirens, they could show up as the sun, kind of like blinking or something. But the lights do penetrate into your dream. There's been studies on this. This has been shown to happen. So that aspect does work. It's just people don't get lucid from that. The idea is that it's supposed to create dream signs for you to become lucid, but people never become lucid. Well, the problem is they don't understand how that's supposed to work. You have to train yourself to look for that stuff during the day. You have to train yourself basically to reality check anytime you see like maybe like a blinking light, anything that's kind of odd with lights. You have to train yourself to reality check with it. It's basically all the ReMe is doing is assisting to add a kind of like predetermined dream sign to your dreams, and it can be hard to spot. And I personally, I own a ReMe. I've only used it a few times and it hasn't been that successful for me. But yes, I have gotten lucid through it, and it's not impossible. The thing is, you have to be an experienced lucid dreamer. You have to know what you're doing when it comes to dialed and reality checking. If that doesn't work for you, you shouldn't even bother with that. It's essential that you be able to do dialed and reality checking. If you can't do that, it's just not going to work. So I'm not saying go out and buy a ReMe. I don't think they're worth the money. But just for people who do have them or people who have heard about them, they're not a complete scam either. They do what they say they're going to do. It's just it's the people using them, I don't think, that just aren't understanding exactly what it's meant to do. The Nova Dreamer works like the ReMe, but the exception is that it actually has a thing that only sets the lights off when it detects that you're in REM sleep, which is where the ReMe fails. The ReMe can be setting off the lights because it's on a preset timer, but you may not be dreaming at the moment, so that's useless. The Nova Dreamer detects when you're dreaming and then sends off the cues, and the Nova Dreamer has been studied by LaBerge and proven to work to increase people's lucidity. Supposedly there's supposed to be a Nova Dreamer 2 coming out sometime soon, but I know there's a lot of other devices now that are kind of doing what the Nova Dreamer does and are a lot cheaper. Regardless, I don't personally believe in really using the external methods for getting lucid that much. I mean, you can if you want to. I just don't think they're that effective for most people. If you could get your hands eventually on probably like the Nova Dreamer 2, don't get your hands on Nova Dreamer, those things are old. But if you could get one on like the Nova Dreamer 2 or something like that, or one that can actually detect REM, then that might actually be useful. But my personal opinion is you need to learn dialed and just learn to always dialed and mild will allow you to consistently have some lucid dreams. And when you become experienced with that, you won't need the external stuff. The external stuff can be helpful specifically if you wanted to maybe induce a lucid dream that night, I guess. But that's not really the way they work. So I don't know. My opinion, I'm not that big of a fan of the external stuff, but the stuff can work. It's whether the people are knowledgeable enough and skilled enough to use it. As far as things like audio cues from your cell phone or something, I got no clue how whether that works or not. I've never been successful with any stuff like that. So that pretty much wraps up week 7. If I forgot other techniques, there are a few more techniques I think, but I wouldn't suggest using like there's the cat technique, which is adjust your sleep schedule. That will wreak havoc on your sleep schedule. I never tried it out. Uh, I may or may not have ones like that linked, but I will link all these techniques so you can explore more about them. Well, like ones like IELTS, there's nothing really to link there. I pretty much explained that. But like always, I'll explain everything in the week 7 official post if I forgot anything or any of that stuff, and all the links will be there, and you guys can explore more on this. I highly suggest filed and siled, finger-induced and senses-induced lucid dreams. Those two techniques are extremely effective and work for a lot of people. And in fact, they can probably be a lot more effective than mild, wild, or wake back to bed for a lot of people. Mild, wild, wake back to bed, and dream X-initiated lucid dreams are basically like the standards of lucid dreaming. You really need to be familiar with those. And then file and silent, I think, are the modern techniques that somebody should probably be aware of and know how to use. So that's it for week 7. I hope you guys have a good week and good luck getting lucid.